Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, if you do enjoy the video that you came here to watch, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that little red subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. It really does help my audience grow. It really does help this channel grow. It means more than you realize. So go ahead, hit that little red button. Also, remember, full episodes of the Aaron Torres podcast, wherever you download your podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc. Now, here is the video that you came here for.
There is one last piece of coaching carousel news that we probably do need to discuss before we get out of here. And it involves really America's favorite coaching candidate, the guy that everybody is curious about, everybody wants to see at the Power 5 level. I'm, of course, talking about Deion Sanders. It's been another successful year on the field for Deion. We've talked a ton about him really over the last 2, 3, 4 months, but it's been a really successful season on the field for Deion. Jackson State just completed an 11-0 regular season. This after an 11-2 season a year ago, meaning that he's 22-2 at his last 24 games as a head coach. Oh, by the way, one of the losses was to a FBS school. Jackson State is obviously in the FCS. And so this guy, on top of being a Pro Football Hall of Famer, an all-time great, is turning into a heck of a college football coach. Now, just because he's been a heck of a college football coach, it has not translated to a ton of opportunities at the highest level. We know over the last few years, he's interviewed at places like TCU and Arkansas, even if he hasn't ultimately got it. And it's for a few different reasons as to why maybe he's being considered, why maybe he isn't. There was a report from Brett McMurphy. He used to run a high school named Prime Prep. They had some academic problems. Some school presidents are concerned about it. But the news that I want to get to about Deion, and this is pretty important, is that for all intents and purposes, as best we know, he got his first official Power 5 head coaching offer over the weekend. It is a job that my understanding is, and everybody's understanding is, the offer is on the table. If he wants it, he can take it, and it comes from the University of Colorado. That is right. Colorado has been out of they fired Carl Durrell a few months ago. It is a program that has a ton of great history, but clearly has been kind of on the outside looking in of major college football over the last 2.5 decades, really since their glory run in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. So over the weekend, Bruce Feldman did report that Deion Sanders has been offered the head coaching job at Colorado. And now the question is, what's next? What's next for Colorado? What's next for Deion Sanders? And let's be blunt. Does he take it? And is Coach Prime coming to a Power 5 school, more specifically a Pac-12 school near you soon? Now, in terms of the opportunity itself, listen, I think we gotta reiterate everything that we've said about Deion Sanders over the last couple of years. And to sit here and say he's going to take it, he's not going to take it, what does it all mean? The bottom line is Deion, as we've discussed, is unlike any candidate in college football right now, okay? As we just discussed with Luke Fickell a minute ago, the goal for most head coaches and the goal for most people in life, this isn't a knock on football coaches, is to climb the ladder, get the biggest job with the highest profile where you can make the most possible money and call it a career, and maybe you have success and maybe you don't, maybe you get fired and maybe you don't. But that's the goal of most college football coaches, and I don't blame them, right? Provide for your family, make money, coach at the highest level, etc. For Deion, we don't really know what his end game in coaching is, right? As I've said many times, money is not an issue for him. Now, everybody wants to make more money, but he's not a guy that if he doesn't get a $4, $5, $6, $10 million a year head coaching job, that he's going to be scraping between the couch cushions for money. And so why Deion is so tough to peg as a candidate is because we don't really know what his end game is. Is it to coach at the highest level? Is it to make the most money? Is it to impact the most kids? Is it to build up an HBCU? And if that is his goal, good for him, and stay at Jackson State and keep doing the incredible things that you're doing. So that's what makes it tough to really gauge. Is he interested? Is he not interested? Will he take it? Will he won't? But on top of Bruce Feldman reporting that Deion has been offered the job, Deion, according to Bruce Feldman, is interested and is willing to listen as this process plays out. And so I think the next question becomes, is he going to take it? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? And what we need to know going forward? In terms of why I think he'd take the job, there's a couple reasons why. There's only so many Power 5 jobs out there, right? And especially now, especially off of a Sunday in which the the Arizona State, Wisconsin, and Nebraska jobs filled, there really aren't that many of these things left at the highest level. And so if you don't take this one, if you don't feel like this is the right one for you, you're probably not going to get another opportunity for another calendar year. Now, again, if your priority isn't to get to the highest level as quickly as possible, then there's nothing wrong with that. Stay at Jackson State and have a good time. But if you do want to coach at the highest level, if you do want to prove to everybody that you should have been here all along, well, then this is probably the best opportunity that you're going to get until the fall of 2023. And so I think that's part of it. And I think the other part is, like I just said a minute ago, it is in fact the opportunity to coach at the highest level. And all of these guys, especially Deion, who, oh, by the way, now wasn't just a great high-level athlete in one sport, but two, remember, he was a Major League Baseball player on top of being maybe the best cornerback of all time. He's obviously a competitor. I think he obviously wants to get to the Power 5 level and prove all the doubters wrong, prove all the people that interviewed him and said thanks but no thanks wrong. And if that's the case, then again, this provides an opportunity. Now, in terms of the job itself, we'll get to some of the positives and negatives, but it is a school that has had a ton of success, historically, even if not of late. It is in a Power 5. And I think here's the other part, and I keep talking about it. It's in a winnable Power 5. Now, can you build a team that can beat Alabama and Michigan and Ohio State and Colorado? Probably not. But if your goal is to win conference championships and compete for playoff berths in a 12-team playoff, the Pac-12 actually might be the place to go right now. You get paid well. In the case of Colorado, there is a natural recruiting base in both Texas and California, both places that Colorado has historically recruited really well. The transfer portal is a thing. You can get players out of the portal, especially if you're Deion Sanders. And oh, by the way, you can bring the best players from Jackson State with you. Your son, Shedeur Sanders, is an NFL draft prospect after next season. He can come with you to Colorado if he wants. Travis Hunter, the #1 corner in high school football, can come with you to Colorado if you want. So this isn't, again, I think we have to recalibrate what it takes to rebuild in the modern era of college football. Look at Sonny Dykes, look at Lincoln Riley, look at Brian Kelly. Sonny Dykes and Lincoln Riley, as first-year head coaches at new schools, may be going to the college football playoff in year one. So those are the positives. But I do think we got to talk about the negatives as well. The negatives are, even though there is a path to the playoff in a 12-team playoff, Colorado's actually a pretty tough job in the modern era. And we've talked about this a lot over the last couple months, but this is a place, listen, in the NIL world, Colorado isn't a place that right now is really equipped to compete. I've told the story before, but over the summer, we had one of their most prominent players from kind of the glory days under Bill McCartney, 1990 national champion or 89 or whenever it was, on our radio show. And I said to him, I said, what is it going to take to get Colorado to get the Buffs back to the top of college football? And he told me point blank, he said, I don't know if we can. In the NIL world, I don't know if we have boosters that are willing to do what it takes to compete at the highest level, to funnel money needed into the program to have success at the level needed to compete again at the high level at Colorado. You have that. The Pac-12, while it could be a positive in a 12-team playoff era, it certainly isn't the SEC. It certainly isn't the Big Ten. It has its negatives. And let's just be blunt. Does Boulder, Colorado really feel like prime country? That I do not know. And I think it is worth noting as well. The future of the Pac-12 is uncertain. They don't have the TV deals locked up like the Big 12 does. And there are a lot of variables that really you can't, even as the head coach at Colorado or the head coach in any Pac-12 school, you can't guess or project going forward. And so my hunch is that Deion, if I had to guess, and I don't know him, I'm just speculating. I think he says thanks, but no thanks. And if that's the case, it's hard to blame him. But if he is looking for a Power 5 job, maybe Colorado's the spot. The one last thing, the way things are going at Auburn right now, they may run out of candidates if they don't end up with Hugh Freeze. So that's something to consider as well. Maybe he gets another look at Auburn if it doesn't work out with Hugh Freeze.